Hello, everybody, and welcome to our day early comic review video. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every Monday after the comics have been delivered and we're done bagging and boarding them, Andy and I divide them up. We read the ones we've most been anxious to get our hands on, particularly a lot of the number ones, so that we can tell you what these comics are more about. We're going to do a spoiler light review show, so we're going to tell you about first appearances, things like that. But even more so, we are going to describe what these comics are about and the art style so that when you go in your store on Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day you visit, the weekend, you know enough as far as which ones you might want to get. Every week there's like 30 to 50 new comics. And so it's our job to make it easier for you to decide which ones might connect with you. This is I would say, very middle of the road week.
Yeah.
Pretty normal week. Quite a bit of Marvel, decent bit of DC, not a ton of indie, but I have at least one noteworthy one I'm going to talk about. So you can already see there's 6 issues right in front of me we're going to go over, but I think in total today we'll end up doing about 21, 22 issues, all their variants and some of the incentives. So, Andy, I do the intro. You get to do the first
I was
comic.
about to say, through the intro, I feel like you're Silent Bob. Like, I'm just going to go like, no, but I read probably one of I don't know if it's the biggest one this week, but the one I was most kind of intrigued and looking forward to reading. That is Hallows Eve.
This is a cool new
number
character.
1. Yeah.
I've been wondering, they've been rolling out her powers slowly.
Yeah. It says from the pages of Amazing Spider-Man. And that's because this character, Janine Goodby, has actually been around in the comics for quite a while. Back during the Clone Saga, she was Ben Reilly's girlfriend, and during the Dark Web story, she was gifted a bag of masks from, I believe, Madeline Pryor in Limbo, and that gave her these new abilities.
It's a magical limbo mask.
Yeah, I kind of like that. It's like, we don't have to really explain. Maybe one day they'll go into like, ooh, what's the history of the masks or whatever. It's like, there was a bag of masks. And that's when she put it on, became Hallows Eve, which I really like the idea. She's like a Halloween-themed character.
Yeah, you know when Marvel's releasing a new character that's holiday themed and it's not even a holiday, they must believe this is a cool character.
So this picks up after the events of Dark Web, and Janine is she was a escaped convict before the Beyond Corporation got her out, but now she's back on the most wanted list. So much so that huge billboards in New York show her face, all of her known aliases and everything. What are you gonna do? Well, when you have a bag of masks, it's not that hard to get away. So what I really like, this kind of sets up a theme throughout the issue. When she pulls out a mask and puts it on, it not only changes her face, but it changes her clothes, her demeanor, everything. And it kind of it shows you a picture and says, like, I think the first one is called the model mask.
Yeah, the model one. Where I saw that in a preview.
Yeah, she puts on the model mask, and it gives a brief description of like changes what the person looks like to like a supermodel. And so she can kind of use these masks to get in and out of places. Now, she's not really. She may go about things the wrong way, but she's not that bad of a character. Her big thing right now is she just wants to get away. Everybody's hunting her. She doesn't have any money. She wants to get some money and get out of town, and hopefully at some point free Ben Reilly from the jail that he's in. Well, she doesn't, like I said, go about it the right way. She is going to attempt to break into a bank using many of her masks, like the ghost mask, which is really cool, that lets her walk through walls. But you can't grab money when you're intangible. So she's constantly like switching masks to try and figure out how to work through her problems. You can tell she's still really new at this as well, as she tries to do stuff and goes, oh, that won't work. But also some of her masks, one in particular, may actually have some side effects that are reminiscent of what the mask is. It's not this one, but at one point she says, like, it's a good thing I didn't put on the vampire mask, because it seems like that might actually, if she bites somebody, turn them into a vampire.
Right.
So it is kind of a all-encompassing mask when she puts it on.
I got the impression because in an earlier thing before this, she put on a Frankenstein mask, and it seemed like it made her
Yeah.
stronger.
Yeah, so it's not just a facade. It really
She gets powers
she
from
gets
it.
powers and embodies whatever that is. The other thing I really liked is it's mentioned that her bag of masks is endless. So I like that. I like that it's not like, oh, is she gonna pick one of these six? How does she get out of this situation? No, she can just keep pulling those things out. I think that's fun. We'll get to see a lot of different ones. They all kind of have a Halloween theme to them. Kind of as what you would dress up as on Halloween. I think that's really fun. But this first issue is basically just setting up her powers, her goal, and then something happens that kind of throws a twist in the system where she may have somebody a someone that she's affected to go up against in the next one. Your classic setup of your even though she's not a hero, your hero creates the villain for at least for the next issue. So I thought it was really fun. This is written by Erica Schultz, and the art is by Michael Dowling. The art is great. I think the character design is superior. That is one of the best recent character designs. So this is our A cover for that. We have our Hans variant. I like
Some of the masks up there.
Yeah, I like that people are having fun drawing the different masks and, maybe imagining what they could be. We've got the Art Germ, which is very nice. She's a little reminiscent of like Hobgoblin in her look, but I like that she's not a goblin because there's a lot of goblins out there. We have this. This is the Chris Allen variant. And look at all the masks up there. Some are reminiscent of some classic Marvel villains. Even Capwolf is on there, along with Hobgoblin.
The Capwolf, that's my favorite.
There's Jack-o'-lantern. Morbius is on there, so that one's really cool. We've got we were seeing the return of Rose Besch to Marvel with this awesome Rose Besch cover. Great colors on that one. There's a lot of variants because it is a Marvel #1. And we have the Alex Ross Timeless variant with Green Goblin. I really like you can see the eyes behind the lenses in that one.
Yep. I know we have at least one more Alex Ross variant to show you because I have one coming up later. Okay, so next up is Cosmic Ghost Rider has a new series. However, this is different than the past 3 series because this is an ongoing series. At least ongoing until they decide to stop it. But they have been promoting it this way. So I think it's going to go at least more than 6 issues. They're going to have at least several story arcs to it. It is by writer Stephanie Phillips, who I have no less than 3 comics today that she's written. I know. And the art is by Juan Cabal, who I think did a really good job with the art. Good with it's in the future, it's in space, but, there's still Hellfire. Mm-hmm. You got the Hellfire Ghost Rider, but he has guns as well. So this follows the last 3 miniseries. Cosmic Ghost Rider, of course, was created originally by Donny Cates with great art by Jeff Shaw, the old God Country team.
Yep.
And after that, they had Revenge of the Cosmic Ghost Rider, and they had Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys the Marvel Universe. Okay, so this is after that. And Frank Castle is done being Cosmic Ghost Rider. He has retired to sort of live a life in obscurity on some little planet where it seems like he's kind of like laying low as a handyman.
I'm sure that works out great for him, and it's just a constant vacationing.
Yep, that's all the issue is. Now, the weird thing is, so even though he isn't Cosmic Ghost Rider anymore, there is a new Cosmic Ghost Rider, and you get to see what this one is like. This one is a lot meaner. Whereas Frank Castle, he was sort of unhinged in almost like a funny way because he was so crazy. This new one seems a lot more deadly. And you see him as he takes out a whole casino and the organization that runs it pretty cruelly. It's a good scene. Like I've told you a little what happens, but when you see the play-by-play, you missed a lot. Anyhow, so Frank's hiding out, and what happens when an assassin comes after him, thinking that he is still Cosmic Ghost Rider. He's still doing this stuff. And what happens when he doesn't just come after Frank, he comes after some of the people that are helping to hide him. So, it's not just a problem he can run from. It's going to follow him. Plus, who is this new Ghost Rider? by the end of it, you may have some ideas. Like basically, you get to see the person with the flame gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have an idea of who it is, but the whys are more is what is left.
So when they have the flame and the suit on, they look very similar to the regular one.
Correct. Yes, it is a bit different. It's a little bit more like an astronaut suit with spiky things.
Okay.
But yeah, when you see the person, you'll go, I had to flip around and think about it. But why is really the question. And that's why these are spoiler light reviews. You can read it, figure out for yourself. Anyway, I thought it was a very good, strong first issue. I liked it a lot. Really cool. It even has a name to the arc, which to me implies that they have multiple arcs planned for this, since it is going to be ongoing. So, of course, a lot of good variants for this. The first one here is the Stegman variant.
Love it.
Yep. Then we have the Smith variant. This is one of these ones I think everybody could argue over who their favorite variants are. Here's the Todd Knock variant.
Works really well.
I really like this one. I honestly do. Even though, this could be in one of the jars on Futurama. It'd be the scariest jar that they have. And then there is a 1 in 25 Rocher variant we're selling to our customers for $20. And speaking of our customers, I've been putting the website plug in different spots. So I think this is the week that we actually are selling some of these on the site. If it's not this week, it's next week. Our online team's supposed to be doing that. But we are taking pre-orders for new comics at our website, infinityflux.net. You can sign up for an account and you can pre-order comics on that site. It is very, very simple. You just click on what you want. You can subscribe to the whole series, or you can pre-order just a cover. And I think this is the week that we actually are selling some of these books on there too. So the online department said they thought they had it ironed out. We'll see. But if not, it's next week. Anyway, thank you to everybody who's already subscribed. Even if you're just getting a book from us, we really appreciate it. Back to the show.
Back to your regular scheduled programming. Okay, next up, I have our final part of Batman versus Robin. So this is really funny how this was structured. You had Batman versus Robin number 1 through 4 pre-Lazarus Planet. Then you had all of Lazarus Planet. Then the final issue of this, which takes place right at the tail end of Lazarus Planet.
And I know it's not connected, but Dawn of DC's even started at this point.
Yeah. And I feel like it's not like, oh, this got so out of order. It actually flows really well. This does begin with kind of a in-story recap of Lazarus Planet. So if you didn't read any of that, but you were reading this, you get caught up pretty fast. But this also picks up where Lazarus Planet Omega left off, with Batman now being demon-possessed by Neza, the big villain of this whole story. So this is actually a good thing and a bad thing. It's not really a good thing at all, but so Batman died, I believe in the previous issue, and what's keeping his body up and moving is the demon inside of it. So, Damian's seeing his dad there, but it's not okay. The first thing that happens is Damian strung up upside down, staring this kind of demon version of Batman in the face. So, of course, Damian, being the very mature kid he is, knows he's got to do kind of the unthinkable. He has to finally kill Batman. So I like how this whole thing, you're like, oh, Batman versus Robin, and it's been going kind of back and forth. You're like, well, they're not really fighting. You get to this, and you're like, nope, Damian has decided.
And he has a real reason to
He has a real reason. He's not happy about it, but he's kind of come to terms with, I've got to kill Batman because it's for the greater good. That's how I get rid of the demon. And how is he going to do this? With the help of Monkey Prince, who has a few new tricks, I'd say up his sleeve, but maybe in his fur. You'll have
monkey wrench power.
Yeah. There's a lot of really fun scenes in this, like how does Robin escape from the clutches of Demon Batman, but also he has to enlist the help of the entire Bat family. So it's kind of a round 2 to when they were demon possessed and Batman was fighting them. Now it's swapped and Batman's demon possessed and they're trying to take him down. It is a very, for kind of a hero fighting hero type story, it is very emotional. Like they play Damien's, how hard this is for him to do, but his kind of tactical mind also working. And I will say the ending of this is very corny in the best way. So I don't want to give it away, but it has something that makes Batman more important to the people of Gotham and Gotham's people more important to Batman. You'll have to read it to find out why, but it's a very comic booky thing that happens, but also it kind of, in my mind, kind of boosts what Batman is all about. And the other thing I really like, this has a definitive end. It kind of has a riding off into the sunset moment. It's not to be continued in blank. It's not anything. It has a definitive the end, which you don't get a lot in comics now. And when there's that, it's always good to be like a recommendation. It's like it's got a beginning and end. Yeah, you've got a lot of Lazarus Planet in there, but other than that, you can just read this story. So, final part of Batman versus Robin out this week. Great issue. Loving all the stuff Mark Waid's doing at DC. Of course, we got some variants. So we have this Sandoval variant with the portrait of the Bat family. We've got this Kelly Jones variant, kind of more reminiscent of the early issues with Alfred, and that the house being kind of like a jack-o'-lantern face. And that is it.
Yeah, I will say after Andy read this issue, I didn't read it, but right away he told me, he's like, listen to this ending. He's like, I really like it, but at the same time, it's a little like, I guess sappy, but in a good way.
Yeah.
So I heard the ending. It sounded pretty good to me.
It definitely works better reading it than someone telling it to you, because they tell it to you, it is goofy. But
those of you reading it, see what you think.
Yep.
Okay, so next I read Shazam: Fury of the Gods one-shot special. Shazamily matters. Okay, so this is obviously DC coming out with this before the movie drops, and they have tied it in maybe the best or worst, depending on your opinion, way you could tie it into a movie. All the stories in this are co-written by the actors in the movie, including Zachary Levi, who writes the first story. Now, they don't write it alone, it's them and comic writers together. So I don't know how this process worked, but I think that's pretty interesting. Yeah. And it is quadruple size. So this is 96 pages. This is a long, long, long book, almost graphic novel size. It's $9.99. So it has 8 different stories in it. I'm not going to go through all 8. I'm going to give you examples. So the first story, which was co-written by Zachary Levi, was it's about the Shazam family, and they're all having a movie night together. How appropriate. Mm-hmm. And they're watching horror movies, Night of the Living Dead sort of thing. And they decide, hey, instead of just sitting around, let's go on a real adventure. So they decide to go into that magical hallway with all the doors. Mm-hmm. And they go through one of the doors and they go on an adventure into the land of the dead. But it's not as like creepy as you think. It's like a lure you in, more like Egyptian creepy Land of the Dead, but they end up fighting some dead famous people. So if you want to see some famous people, maybe even some dead presidents punched in the face, that's your story. So it has that likeness that you would find in sort of the Shazam stuff, especially the cinematic universe. Well, anyway, after that, there are more stories. Most of them focus on one family member, and I think they let that actor co-write each of those stories. Mm-hmm. And it wraps up. The last story is a Billy Batson story where he is worried about his leadership qualities. I mean, he's still a kid, mm-hmm. and he's kind of the de facto leader of the family. So that one's a little bit more of a serious story where he needs some real advice about what to do, feeling unconfident and with all this pressure on him. That was a pretty good one. So a lot of the in-between ones, they just go all over the place, but each member gets their own light to shine. I think this would be a great one to sit down and read to pump you up for this next movie that I'm really looking forward to. So I think it's a pretty interesting concept that DC is doing. As far as variants, we just have this one photo variant for it. I think there might have been another variant, but I think this is the only one that we have left currently. So.
Well, one thing about this week, there is a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah, so I should have started the show about how much Star Wars. I think half the things you're doing are Star Wars based.
Yeah. So I'm going to be breaking them up into chunks. So I don't go through like 8 different books all at once, but I will start out with kind of the big one this week. It is Star Wars Hidden Empire number 4, the penultimate issue of Hidden Empire. Now, this whole series has been leading up to Kira, actually this whole trilogy of stories, Bounty Hunter War and Crimson Reign, and then Crimson Empire. Crimson Reign was the Daredevil one that went on at the same time. And then Hidden Empire has been about Kira trying to finally take down the Sith for everything they've done and her big revenge. This is kind of the culmination of her big plot. And one of the key things she's trying to pull off is unleashing whatever's in the Fermata cage, which they say is an ancient Sith Lord that has been frozen in time. And that was kind of their they're so, it's like putting them in the Phantom Zone. It's like we can't take them out. We've got to like take them off the playing field.
It's a very good comparison.
Yeah. So that is what this issue is still about, is them trying to release that whatever it's going to be, because I'll tell you, we don't know in this issue still, but we get very close to it. I feel like that's what the entire story has been. In the next issue, we'll finally find out what was in there. But I'll say some highlights from this is Vader and Palpatine actually, Palpatine coming to Vader and being like, "You have my lightsaber. It's been a while since I've used it. Let's spar." So you get a Palpatine versus Vader fight where they're kind of talking through it, but it's just kind of an interesting thing that you don't see too often. And this feels like it's going to culminate with basically Palpatine and Vader being like, we can't trust anyone else to take on whatever's going to come out of this artifact, this cage. We're going to go boots on the ground and face whatever comes out of it. So I think that's going to be really cool in the next issue, is, actually kind of Palpatine and Vader hands-on going to stand up against whatever this is going to be. But this is the issue before that. This is kind of everything is leading up. This is kind of the calm before the storm. But it was a really fun issue. So that is number 4 of 5. We've also got some variants for this. We have the Momoko Women's History Month variant with Chaneth Cha on the cover. I know a lot of people are excited about these Momoko variants she's doing for all of them. We've got the Connecting variant. We've got I think they call these the Battle variants. And the other one I want to talk about is Han Solo and Chewbacca number 10. So I didn't realize this, and as much as my fingers on the pulse of Star Wars, this is the final issue of Han Solo and Chewbacca. It was touted as an ongoing series when it started, but ends at issue number 10. And I think it kind of ends in the right place. So we did see in the one-shot special from a couple months ago now, the Revelations issue, that we are leading up to this something with this droid called Ajax, and we learned that Han was kind of a part of it. He actually had its droid brain, and it kind of wove through the story. We see all of that again, but kind of in perspective this time, and it's kind of touting it is the lead-in to the big event that is coming this summer/fall, and it is in a very loose sense of the way. The stuff is mentioned and everything. I don't think it is like super necessary. You have to go back and read this one to understand what's going on. It's just kind of a handing the baton off, and there's a moment where both hands are on the baton type thing. So it is the final issue of Han Solo and Chewbacca. And the other interesting thing in this is there was a coded message at the end that was basically like teasing that big event coming up, which we don't know the name of yet. It was just announced kind of with the teaser just about a week or so ago. And so I did the job. I did the National Treasure decoding. I've actually got a Star Wars translator on my phone. I put it in, and I will reveal, so you don't have to go through it. It says classified, coming in fall 2023. It just says it's classified. It is a coded message that is also classified.
We were laughing about it. Andy showed me.
It's the most
wow.
It's the most work I put in to get a very vague answer on a thing. But so the big event's coming. It says fall. I've heard some people say summer. I don't know if one of its, maybe a intro to it is going to happen during the summer and then the big event starts in fall. Who knows? But that is Han Solo and Chewbacca. Number 10. We've got the variants for this as well. We have the Cummings variant with Chewbacca. We've got the Momoko with Keltana. And that is all for now from Star Wars.
Okay, so I read the new book by Jeff Lemire called Phantom Road. It has art by Gabriel Walta. So the first thing I want to talk about with this book is the art in it. It has a really, really indie art style, and that is to say, the line work, the inking, it all looks hand done. Now, I'm not saying it is all hand done, but it was definitely made in the way that it looks like it wasn't like really digitized very much. But the coloring, I had to show Andy, I'm like, the coloring of this book, it looks sort of like watercolors with a hybrid of them sort of pumping it up a little bit digitally.
Yeah, it's almost like too bright of colors to get from too like solid of colors to get from watercolor, but with the texture of watercolor.
Yeah, so I like the look of it. It stands out in an indie way. If you like your stuff looking like slick and produced, it's not for you. But if you like something that looks very, very indie, but in a really well-intended way, I think you'll like the art to this. I have to say, at some point, I got to find out if we're allowed to show interior pages. I think we can as long as we don't show too many, because I would live... At some point, we're going to go to a screen where I can show an interior page. We're going to keep improving this show as we go. So anyhow, as far as what this is about, if you read the solicitation on this, honestly, that kind of is what happens in the first issue. But for those of you who didn't, it is about a truck driver who's kind of troubled. He has some trouble at home, and he's on the road. He's thinking about his problems, and that's kind of how we learn about him. Lemire is very much a character writer. His stuff is always about the characters along with whatever tale they're embroiled in. And he gets in an accident, or it's kind of a near accident. And when he goes to see if this driver, this other car is all right, it is this girl he's never met before. And they have a weird experience together where there's this weird artifact laying in the road. And you'll have to see it for yourself to see what you think it is. Is it alien? Is it demon? Is it, see what you think. I'm not going to tell you what I think. So this artifact is there, and it seems like some monster is drawn to it. The only other thing I'll say is it's simple enough. It's like, well, why don't they just run away? And they kind of think about that, but it seems like this artifact is calling to them. And so that is going to put them in a different position of how to deal with this monster, and there might be even more of them. So my question to you is, on the cover, is that a tire iron because his tire blows out, or is that a tire iron because it's a comic book, so it's probably a weapon?
Yeah. Is it an offensive thing?
You'll have to see. It's a good setup issue, but I do have to say most of what happens in it you can get in the solicitation, except for sort of the character development. That's how Lemire does it. He rolls his stories out at the pace he wants to. So I thought it was a good first issue, particularly the art style, if that's the style that you like. The cover does it justice, but I don't think completely. I thought the colors looked better. It's a brighter color at certain points. So that is what is going on in Phantom Road #1. I think a lot of people will check this out. Lemire has a lot of so much cred with what he does.
And so many fans that say, I'm going to try it out no matter what, because it's Lemire, and because that slow burn he does is very rewarding if you stay with it.
It often is. And so here are the variants. Here is the Fernandez variant. And then, as always, Lemire, not just a writer, he also is an artist. This is the Lemire variant.
Okay, before I get to DC RWBY #1, I did want to show off the second printing. And usually we show off like second printings and stuff later on in the show. I think this one is important to point out. So if you recognize this, this is World's Finest number, I believe it's 11. This is the second printing of the Jack White cover that I think probably most stores underordered.
That was maybe the hottest cover of the year so far.
Yeah.
Outside of like store exclusives.
Yeah, or one in 1000s.
Like Batman shaking hands with Eminem.
Yeah. but for Open Order for
I mean,
sure.
Spider-Man.
So this was, it looks the same on the front and everything, but here's why this is my speculation. We never really do this on the show, but this is why I think this is going to be a hot book because the back has art on it. So most people are buying this because of the Jack White art. Great issue, by the way, World's Finest, one of my favorite DC books coming out, period. But the original version just had an ad on the back. This actually has more art on the back. So I feel like even people who got their hands on the first printing are going to want this because it is more. It's more of what you came to get. And it is a very cool back cover too that's very kind of reminiscent of the front, but a little bit different. If people frame this or do whatever with it, you can get another one and frame the back of it too to have the full picture. I just think this is going to be a pretty hot one this week that a lot of people are going to want to pick up because of that. And I think it's going to be one of the ones that people kind of find out late that, oh, this is going to be hot because it's more than just a second printing. So that is my little pitch for World's Finest second printing. But on to DC RWBY #1. So this is a new miniseries. They actually had RWBY DC before, where if you're not familiar with RWBY, it is a kind of a CG anime that was made and put on Amazon Prime. I think is where most people watched it. I think it was kind of a web thing also, but it's a really fun thing, kind of your magic girl in a school, this team that fight these monsters called the Grimm. Very well done, very interesting, has a lot of fans. The original one saw the RWBY universe where some kind of DC characters, what would they be like in this? So there's a Batman, a Superman, a Wonder Woman. Well, this goes the opposite way and set in the main DC universe, or, one where this would happen. And of course, starts with Batman, where there's reports of these monstrous things attacking all over the city. You kind of catch them right in the middle of this thing. You already know it's going to be the Grimm from the RWBY universe. But Batman and Gordon are trying to figure out what is going on. They've checked with all of the kind of Planet Patrol. They don't really say Green Lanterns, but they're like, okay, it's not alien. They would have caught it if it went through there. It's not. It doesn't go off the signals of a regular multiverse thing. So what is this? Gordon says, well, he saw a bunch of teenage girls in cosplay, like Barbara used to wear, which I think is really fun. Him mentioning that, and they basically say, Gordon, you think anything's weird if it's not just a shave and a haircut. You think it looks weird. But most of this issue is Batman basically trying to track what's going on and trying to find these girls. And of course, like with any crossover book or whatever, they're gonna fight.
Right.
The majority of this is
the initial misunderstanding.
Yes. Because also Batman kind of looks like a Grimm. He's got the black suit on. He's got pointed ears. They just assume he's probably one of these demon things too. So it's really fun. Would I recommend this to somebody who hasn't watched RWBY? It's kind of on the fence. If you're kind of intrigued by the idea, you'll probably like it, but it is very much a kind of 50-50 hybrid of the two. So I really liked it. I've watched some of the anime and I knew the characters well enough to be able to keep up with it. If you hadn't read it, it does introduce them for the most part, but I think this is mostly intended for fans of RWBY and DC, bringing them together. So this is our A cover. This is also by Marjorie Bennett, and the art is by Megan Hetrick, which I'm used to seeing Megan Hetrick do covers, so her interior art is really nice. We also have this, I believe this is we have this Mirka Andolfo cover.
All right, so I read Rogue and Gambit #1. This is my second Stephanie Phillips comic I'll be talking about today out of the three I'm discussing. This is a new mini-series. It's by her. The art is by Carlos Gomez. And in this, Rogue is no longer a main X-Men team member. And so she's trying to sort of get back in her rhythm with her husband. She's going to have free time to be with him again. Well, right off the bat, she's going to like meet him for a date, and he's in trouble,
Oh, of
and it's
course.
trouble he created, 100% created. So you just get that classic quipping of the two of them. I think Gambit's a character writers really enjoy writing.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a troublemaker and such a scoundrel, but he's so funny and classy in his own way. And even though they're married, they still attack each other with verbal barbs, but the love is still there. There is a lot more to it than that, though. That's just sort of like gets them all back together. There's also Destiny warns them that they need to find a certain mutant and get this mutant to kind of help them because something really bad is going to happen. And this is a mutant who doesn't hang out with the X-Men anymore. He's very disgruntled. I won't say who it is, but even if you don't know, if you didn't read, past things, it has a footnote to tell you sort of why this person is disgruntled. And all this might feed into the fact that somebody is kidnapping major X-Men villains. Lady Deathstrike, for instance, is in this, and you'll have to see what happens with her. So how this all figures together, hard to say. But I mean, this is your first setup issue to kind of get it all going. I think my favorite part of it was just the charm of reading Rogue and Gambit together.
Yeah.
When somebody like Stephanie Phillips, who's a good writer, gets their chance to write them together, that's just always the best. We'll see where it goes from here in issue number 2, because story definitely does get popping. Setup does, lay its groundwork. But we'll see what happens in issue number 2.
I like Carlos Gomez's art a lot too. He just wrapped up on Exterminators. That was your artist on Exterminators, which people loved. So if you like that art, flipping through this, it's very similar.
I'm glad you brought that up because, there's the action scene at the beginning, and the action scenes are really, really good.
Yeah.
So Gomez is quite good with that.
I love this variant.
So here are the variants. We have the Wernick variant. We have the Aspinall variant, and they kind of try to make it, like a classic movie poster. Then, of course, we have the Alex Ross Timeless variant. For those of you collecting all, what is it, like 37 of them? Something like that. With one of my favorite characters, Mystique, who doesn't appear in this, but she gets mentioned.
But say the characters that are in that are just circling around Mystique.
Oh, yeah.
Destiny, Rogue, those are all.
And then here's the 1 in 25 Orzu variant. I like this one.
I think that one's going to be pretty popular.
We're selling to our customers for $20 while it lasts.
And those two characters have such a fan base. Like a lot of people, either Rogue's their favorite character or Gambit. So
yeah, if you just are getting back into comics, they did a miniseries like, what was it, maybe 4 years ago, Mr. and Mrs. X. It's just one trade. Go out and find it. It's a delightful read.
Okay, next up, my next Star Wars multi-play or whatever, we have Star Wars number 32. This is continuing our story of our main heroes stuck in no space, trying to figure out how to get out of this kind of space between space that back in the High Republic, the Nile has their headquarters. Another really fun issue where Chewbacca is actually the key to helping them get out because he's such a good mechanic. He basically is just sitting around in a jail cell because they've locked them up, and he comes up with a way to get out, which I think is really cool. Now, they've got to get the tools to get out, and part of that is going to require Luke, as you see on the cover, to don a jetpack and head out into the very dangerous wilds outside of this main structure and get them out. Overall, a really fun issue of Star Wars. So that is 32. We have the variants for that one. We have the part 8 of 40 of our Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary covers. We've got the John Tyler Christopher Jar Jar Binks cover, which I feel like I'm sure he's done a Jar Jar Binks before. There's no way he's not done this.
I'm pretty sure he has.
This may just be a little bit different one. We have this one, which I think this is a really cool cover. This is the Luke Ross cover. I love that Chewbacca is getting so much kind of forefront. I'll be talking about another book with him coming up.
Yeah, some solo Chewbacca on covers too.
And then we have the Peach Momoko with Holdo. Another very nice one. And the other one I want to point out is Star Wars High Republic The Blade #3. If you've been following this series about kind of the history of what became one of the greatest swordsmen in the Jedi. Another fun issue of this. I believe there's one issue left of this miniseries.
Yeah, we were talking about #4, I think, on Comics from the Future just a few days ago.
Which I really like. It feels like most of the Star Wars books are on a pretty good tight schedule. Yep. So, that is, I think this is the final miniseries in this wave of High Republic stories. All that's left is the main High Republic book. And then we have the variant for this one. Let's see. I believe this one is the Gia Giordano variant.
Okay, so I read Detective Comics issue number 1069. This is, of course, Ram V has been writing Detective Comics. This issue has 3 different artists. And I have to say, all the art in it remains fantastic. The art in Detective has been really top notch as far as what they're going for. A lot of it is, I think, the atmosphere they're creating with the more gothic look. So this is not one to just start in on. Like, they're far into this story arc. Batman, he has been, trying to recover from this grave injury, and Harvey Dent's there. And is he trying to help him? He kind of is, but at the same time, he also tries to blackmail him. I guess he more than tries to blackmail him, because he has some information about Batman, some of the worst information you can have, and he makes a threat as to what he'll do if Batman ever tries to help Harvey Dent or make Two-Face go away again. Mm-hmm. And it seems pretty hard for Batman to kind of work around this. You'll have to see that whole scene. It's a really good situation. Meanwhile, there's more with the Arzum family, who are, the people who've been in Gotham now for a little while. They've taken over the Arkham land, and they're spreading their reign over Gotham with their demon force. The Asmer demon force that's been getting into people. They've been putting in like transient people and lost people. There's a lot more on that. There is a certain character that kind of escapes from them, though, that looks to be might be following her story for a little bit. So just more of the plot line sort of progressed in the latest issue of Detective Comics. Here is the J.H. Williams, the 3rd variant. This one takes a little looking at to kind of see what's going on there. And then here is the 1 in 25 Doran variant we're selling to our customers for $20. Batman's like, I have a literal bat in my chest.
Actually, put the variant up. Okay, my next one is Ghost Rider. This is Ghost Rider #12. So I continue to really like this story. The ending of the previous one with exhaust and all that was very abrupt, and then the next issue kind of explained a lot of that. So it's been really very interesting structured book. But this one I really like, because we actually haven't got a ton of Johnny Blaze as Ghost Rider in this series. It's kind of been part of the story of him. Originally, he was very detached from Ghost Rider. He couldn't remember what he did when he turned into Ghost Rider. But this one, I was excited for, because at the end of the previous one, they rolled up onto the city of Savannah, Georgia, that looked like it was on fire. Johnny Blaze and his partner Warroad. And I love Savannah. I've been there many times, so I was very excited for this one. They got all the landmarks there. But if you know anything about Savannah, it is full of cemeteries and graveyards. And what a perfect place for Ghost Rider. The entire city has been overrun by demons and fire and everything. So we actually get some great Ghost Rider action. Even a part where I don't know how... he's got one of those really vague powers that if he wants to do something enough, it just works out for him. There is a headstone that has a cross on it, and he pulls it out. It comes out of the ground, and it's a flaming sword. You know what? I just say it's part of his Ghost Rider powers. But you get sword-wielding Ghost Rider versus a whole host of kind of zombie demons in a graveyard. Really great action sequences in this. But this does end, and a lot of places are reporting this, but he does get the sense that he feels a presence that's very familiar, almost like a brother. That's because we all know that Danny Ketch is coming to this
I've been
story.
waiting for this.
Um, and you do see he's not he's only in the final page, but you do see kind of what he currently looks like, and a lot of places are reporting that it looks like he's been taken over by Weapon X. At least so much as the helmet he's wearing looks like the one Wolverine had when he escaped Weapon X. That kind of has the Cyclops type visor and all of that. This time Catch's fire is more green. So if that ends up being kind of a new version of Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, you could call this a cameo. We'll see what happens with it in the next issue. So it kind of promises the next issue is going to be a pretty big Danny Ketch issue. I'm very excited about that. Overall, this was a really fun issue of Ghost Rider. I love the setting and just kind of the style of this one is really cool.
I just wonder what they're going to call him, like Weapon Catch.
Oh, yeah. Weapon K or something. And then we have this Raposa variant.
Okay, so I read the new miniseries Spider-Gwen Shadow Clones issue #1 with this great Nakayama cover. So this cover tells you a few things. Right on there, you see 2 other Gwen mashups. You see Gwen Ock and you see, I don't know what they're going to call her, Sand Gwen. That sounds fine.
Sandy Gwen.
Yeah. So this book is done by Emily Kim with art by Ki Zama. And this does have the first appearance of Gwen Ock, which is a Gwen Dr. Ock mashup. So there is some question as to how this happens, though. So I can't reveal everything. But this is set in Gwen's universe. And for some reason, the Sinister Six from the Marvel 616 is attacking her. They have found their way in and they're going after her this time. I guess they've lost to 616 Spider-Man. Now they're going after her. Well, during this battle, there is some casualties that are outside of the battle. You know, some people get injured and Gwen doesn't even quite notice. All right. And that's sort of your setup for the issue. It continues on. And one of my favorite things about this issue, you get to see more of her universe. You get to see, of course, the Reed Richards from her universe again, who's actually a much younger kid. Some characters we haven't seen in a little while because a Gwen Ock attacks her. But this person isn't necessarily a foe. In fact, a lot of the issue is, who are you? Where are you from? And what I will pose to you is she from another multiverse or is she something else? You'll have to read the issue to find out what that is. And yes, by the end of the issue, there's also the cameo of the Sandman Gwen character as well. So that's generally what's going on in Spider-Gwen Shadow Clone #1. I expect every issue of this, there's going to be a Sinister Six Gwen character mashup. So I'll just go and put that out there. I don't feel like that earns me any intelligence points in saying that. A lot of good variants for this. Here is the Greg Land variant.
Which if you got all the Greg Land variants for the previous one, where there was kind of the Wolverine version of Gwen and all that, they're all basically the same.
It goes right into that. Here's the Bengal variant. Here is the Via Stormbreakers variant.
That's nice.
Here is the Casa Grande variant. And lastly, there's a 1 in 10 Momoko variant, design variant, we're selling to our customers for $10 with the Gwen Ock on there.
So I wonder if Momoko actually designed all of the characters. Because, you know, for the designs, a lot of them are the artists that designed them. It's their sketches for it. So it'd be interesting to know if she
I'm not
designed
sure to
them.
tell you the truth.
Okay, next up, I've got Action Comics number 1052. So this is our second issue in the kind of new format of Action Comics, where it's got multiple stories. It's a little bit oversized, but the main story is still on Superman and the Superman family. So in the previous issue, Steele and Natasha Irons, or Henry Steele and Natasha Irons, were about to unveil Steelworks, this Steelworks Tower, kind of a new building for good in Metropolis. But of course, something attacks, it gets blown up, and it's to the Superman family to the rescue. This picks up right after that. We know the big villain for most of this, at least first story arc, is going to be Metallo. And you get a great fight with Superman and Metallo that goes from Earth into space. I feel like Superman's best ally is his ability to fly in space because you just take him up there and you pretty much have the upper hand. But it's a really fun story, and it's nice because it's not super long. You know, you get very a condensed chunk of story. You also get a lot of fun new things with the his new adopted children who are from Warworld. You even the one of them kind of makes up his own name in this, which we'll have to see if it sticks. It's definitely a name a kid would come up with, so it's kind of goofy. But that is the first story. Then we get the second story, which is set in the Lois and Clark or Superman and Lois time frame when John Kent was still a kid. This one's really cool. We meet a new character named Galana, who is from the planet Plun, which are the most like sci-fi names ever. But she's a princess on the run from some alien bad guys, and it looks like John is going to kind of help her in this, or we'll have to see what happens. And then lastly, we have another Power Girl story where in the last one she kind of went into the mind with her new psychic abilities of Beast Boy. In this one, very interesting, Kara Zor-El comes and she has to go inside her mind. So, and Power Girl and Supergirl are kind of the same person, so you'll have to see how that works out. Power Girl definitely has her opinions on Supergirl and kind of how she does things and how she presents herself that are very funny. But another great issue of Action Comics. I like this new format, and I like the inclusion of so many of the super family. Makes it very cool. And we got a bunch of variants for this. So we have the Kari Randolph variant with Steel and Natasha. We have the, I believe this is the Clayton Henry variant. I love seeing Power Girl and Supergirl pointing fingers in the background. We have this is the Sandoval variant with the whole gang.
Huddled up.
And lastly, there is a second printing of 1051. So if you missed that first kind of intro to the new story, you can pick up the second printing of 1051.
All right, so my third and final Stephanie Phillips comic of this week, Harley Quinn issue number 27. I think Phillips is writing so much she's getting a little tired, not because this issue was bad. This was a good issue, but this is the final issue, not of the series. The series continues, but the creative team of Stephanie Phillips and Matteo Lolli, who've done the 27 issues together. This is their final issue in Harley Quinn. After this issue, it's going to go to Teenie Howard and Sweeney Boo, starting with issue number 28. So this is the end of this arc, and as you can see on the cover, it is Harley versus the Harley Who Laughs. Last issue, Harley and her small team of multiversal Harleys, including Old Lady Harley, they have rounded up the rest of the multiverse Harleys because they want to lure the Harley Who Laughs to where they know she's going to be. They figure if they can round them all up, she'll show up to kill them, and then they can stop her. Well, she showed up last issue, but she showed up with poison ivy and a gun pointed at her head that I guess we're supposed to assume could kill Ivy. Ivy's just so powerful; it's hard for me to think anything can kill her that easy. But that is the stakes. That's what happened last issue. So this issue, there is a lot of action in it. Okay, however, that's not necessarily all that resolves this. Harley has an idea on what unifies all Harleys across the multiverse, and she thinks that might even stretch to the most evil of Harleys, which is the Harley Who Laughs. So you'll have to see how her idea plays out. I think it's a very clever ending. I thought it was very satisfying to see what they do and how they might be able to change this situation in a way versus just fighting one another. Although there is fighting, and there's some interesting fighting that happens in this issue. So good final issue of this arc. It's been a really good arc. It's been a really good run. I'm sad to see this creative team but I think it's smart if this is the stories they have.
And end on a high.
Yeah,
Didn't run it into the ground.
I agree. I think this was a really strong Harley series, and I'm glad to see it continue. Interested to see what Teenie Howard and Sweeney Boo. Sweeney Boo, not a lot of interior art, mostly cover, so I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to look. So here are the variants. This is the Garner variant.
And I believe the amazing variant covers are also continuing. I was looking at those.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And here is the Frizen variant. And then lastly, we have this
one's so funny.
1 in 25 Oliver variant that we're selling to our customers for $20. I mean, somebody right now is looking at this and they're like, yeah, I want it.
Yeah, that's for me. You could even put real googly eyes on that and you can shake it around. Okay, next up I have Star Wars Hyperspace Stories number 4. So, this is the issue that is following my issue of Star Wars Hyperspace Stories, so it's definitely not as good. I can say that.
The art has dropped a bit.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to him about that. No, art is great in this, and this is actually, I'm kind of jealous. I kind of want to do this issue because I love Rey as a character, and this actually is celebrating Life Day on Kashyyyk, the started in the holiday special, the much maligned holiday special, but has actually become kind of a pivotal point in Star Wars that a lot of things reference and is kind of treated a lot better now. But Rey gets invited by Chewbacca to attend Life Day. Well, also a bounty hunter is going to attempt to make an attack at the same time. That's kind of the overall plot of this, but I think the big thing in this is, and I was doing some research, this actually has an appearance by Lumporuru, which, reading it, they always just called him, his nickname was Lumpy, but it's Chewbacca's son, who I believe this is actually their first appearance in continuity of Lumpy. So they were in some, like, old Legends stories, mostly been in like novels and things like that, but this actually brings that character in, and it is a pretty big character in this issue, teaming up with Rey, taking on this bounty hunter. So I think that's awesome. Kind of first official continuity, cementing that. I think he was mentioned in a book or so since the Disney acquisition, but to actually visually see him, that's really cool for this issue. So I thought this was a really fun issue. And I will say it was just announced that I will be the artist on issue number 8. So this is issue number 4. So in 4 issues, I will be back on the book for a very fun Kylo Ren story you won't want to miss. But continue on the series because all the other creative teams working on it are fantastic. I also really love this variant cover, this Carrie Nord variant cover. I love that when they do the reverse hot and cold colors, it really pops, looks really cool with the blue and the yellow. Really fun. Carrie Nord doing great on all the variant covers for this. And the other Star Wars book I was going to show off is we have our final issue of Mandalorian Season 1. So this covers, of course, Episode 8 of The Mandalorian, which you could say is the first full appearance of Moff Gideon. The previous one was kind of a cameo. This is the first full appearance. And first Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, unmasked. If you watch the show, you know that, but in this one, he's unmasked, so that's kind of a big deal as well. And the other big thing in this is it does announce at the end, even though it's kind of been online, that Season 2 is going to be adapted. So there is the cover of Season 2 that's going to be coming soon. I hope they continue with this, do Book of Boba Fett, do all of them in comic form, because I love this. But that is Mandalorian number 8. And we have a couple of variants for it. We have the Black History Month variant with Grief Karga. We have the concept art variant. And lastly, we have the 1 in 25 Asrar variant Very cool that we're selling to our customers for $25.
Now that we have the website with you doing issue number 8, it's going to be a lot easier for us
Yes.
once it gets closer to have it where people can purchase it or get a signed copy.
Yep.
So that's going to be cool.
That'll be awesome.
It won't just be through email and messages anymore. Okay, so the next one I read was I Am Iron Man #1. So this is a 5-issue miniseries, and this is by the team of Murewa Ayodele, and the art is by Dotun Akagande.
Some new names.
Yes, and what this series is, they are doing sort of 5 one-shot stories that are told throughout the history of Iron Man. It's going to be set in different major time periods. Like, for instance, the first issue, this one kind of goes through time. It doesn't even pick one that it's just in. It starts with him back in the old gray iron armor.
Oh, wow.
And this time traveler with a guitar, I kid you not, they time travel through time with a guitar, appears, and basically they want to defeat Tony Stark, but they want to beat him at his best. And it seems like they're just popping around and they're like, oh, you're not your best here. And so the story goes from the past to more close to the present Marvel Universe to also the future, where they finally do have their battle. It's up to you to guess who wins this battle in the future. Is it Tony Stark at his prime or a time traveler with a guitar? I don't know. You'll have to read the issue.
Like he could have just Google searched when was Iron Man at his top? Probably not when he was in the iron armor.
Yeah. It's not a super serious story, is what I'll say. It's not silly, but it's also not like trying to add to the mythos. It's just trying to tell a fun sort of story. So that's what's going on in I Am Iron Man. There's going to be 4 more issues. I assume will be that way, but maybe they'll have an issue set during Armor Wars, stuff like that. We have just, I think, one variant to show you. Yeah, here is the Woods variant for I Am Iron Man #1.
Okay, and I have Spider-Man this is Spider-Man #6. So I wasn't aware that this was this end of the Spider-Verse story is the issue before the last. The next issue is the end of the Spider-Verse story. And Dan Slott has tweeted or let know that the next issue is one of the biggest ones he's ever written or something like that.
He just said issue 7 is one everyone's going to want to get after the fact. He's like, I don't say this often, but you collectors, something real major is going to happen.
He's a big talker, but also a big deliverer.
Usually, he's got a pretty good track record.
Yeah. Nay, we forget Superior Spider-Man, which is a great series. This issue's fun. It pulls back Peter Palmer. I love his art style mixed in with the other ones. He still looks very classic. But the return of the Spider Buggy that also talks like Speed Buggy, which I really like. He kind of putters and everything. Makes references to the first team up between Miles and Spider Buggy way back in the first Spider-Verse miniseries. So just want to let you know that this issue's out, but then the next one is supposed to be a pretty big one. This does have a very, I wouldn't say shocking or anything, but like an ending where you're like, what's going to happen? Like that seems pretty definite what they show. So that is big in that. And we have the variant. Yeah, this is the Carlos Gomez variant with Silk.
And I'll say when that issue is orderable, the one that Dan Slott's saying everybody should get and something big is going to happen, we'll talk about on Comics for the Future. So just watch our show and we'll let you know, hey, it's up for order. This is your chance to get it.
Yep.
So because I think it's 7, it might be 8, but I think it's 7 is what he tweeted. Okay, so next up, I read Spider-Man Unforgiven. So this is the first of a series of 3 one-shots, all called hero name Unforgiven. The next one is X-Men Unforgiven. The third one is Captain America Unforgiven. This follows the team who calls themselves the Unforgiven, which is an unlikely team of vampires who use their superpowers.
It's a likely team of vampires.
I guess they're unlikely in that they're not evil.
Okay.
Because they use their powers. They're trying to do good. They're trying to save humanity. So this is by Tim Seeley with art by Sid Kotian. This one, it was cool. It has a lot of story to it. I skimmed through it. This one I didn't like give it a super, super heavy read. I'm not real familiar with the Unforgiven. I
Hmm.
mean, they were back from like 2012 or something,
Hmm.
and something I don't know if I read, and it's just gone into the back of my mind or whatever. But it's pretty cool thinking of a team of vampires and why would they be good.
Hmm.
And each of them does get the spotlight in this. And of course, Spider-Man, it's one of these things where, of course, he's going to fight them, but then also see they're not all bad. But there is more going on here. This leads into the X-Men one. Like by the end, there's some major treachery. Tim Seeley, he's got a story he wants to tell. So I thought the story seemed really cool. I'm going to give it a more thorough
Hmm.
read later tonight. And I thought the art was good. Yeah, just, good art. So as far as the variants, they're both by Klein. So here is the first Klein variant. And then the next one, it's the Klein Stormbreakers variant. I really
Oh,
like
I
this one a
love this one.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is quite good.
We were unsure if that would be in color or stay black and white. I'm glad they chose black and white because you can really see the pen work.
I agree. Nick Klein is quite talented.
Yeah. Okay, and last one for me is one that I just want to mention. This is X-Force number 38. And what is that on the cover? That Frankenstein X-Force abomination with Domino's head, Wolverine's claws. Looks like they just slapped on Cable's like shoulder pad because they're like, what do we take from Cable? I guess just his shoulder. But some are reporting that this is like the first appearance of this kind of amalgamation X-Force character. I will say yes and no. No, it does not look like this. I feel like this one's a little bit more tailored to look like the current X-Force team to kind of give you that sense. But there is a new um, creature in here that does look like it has pieces of the X-Men in it. Maybe a little bit more classic X-Men team. Looks like a little bit of Colossus, Beast, Wolverine. So
Wasn't there
yes,
some Omega Red in there too?
yeah, it looked like it had Omega Red's like tentacle
Tentacles.
things. Um, but will this character carry on past this issue? I don't know because this issue kind of really looks like it wraps up that story. But also, it is still there, so they could bring it back in at some point. But just letting you know that does have the first appearance of that kind of amalgam character. I think it would be a fun character to show up in like a Halloween one shot or something. But it doesn't look like this, but read it for yourself and see what you think. And there is also a variant for it. This is the Todd Knock variant.
Okay, and my last one, I read Venom number 17. This is one, Al Ewan did this one, and the art is by Cafu, C-A-F-U. And this follows Dark Web, and I mean Dark Web literally leads right into it because we have Eddie Brock. He is still Bedlam,
Mm-hmm.
and he is stuck in limbo. That is a lot of what this issue is. He has to figure out how is he going to get out of limbo. There's some very violent things he has to do to get out of limbo. That is mainly what this issue is. The last thing I'll say is who or what helps him because it does have sort of a last page thing where it's like, oh, this is interesting. Where is this going? Where something offers him a helping hand. You'll have to see what that is and try to figure it out for yourself. So that's what's going on in Venom issue number 17. And here are the variants. We have the Panosian variant.
I like that one.
And then we have the 1 in 25 Kafu variant, who is our interior artist. This we're selling to our customers for $20. And that is our show this week. So we went over, I think, 21 or 22 comics. Actually, no, we always talk about the other books
Yeah.
that are out as well. It'll just take me one little moment to get back to that.
We showed a lot. So that has to show you this is a decently sized week. Most of the books are kind of running through the middle of their series.
Yeah.
So we just covered kind of the highlights, but there are, of course,
Way too many for us to go over. But we do have a list of other ones we usually read that I usually have prepared. Okay. So other books that are out this week include Captain America Sentinel of Liberty number 10 is out this week.
Also, the final part of Murderworld Game Over one shot, so that kind of caps off that miniseries.
Batman Gotham Knights Gilded City number 5.
And also Batman the Audio Adventures number 5.
The 4th issue of Blue Beetle Graduation Day is out this week.
Also, a fan favorite, DC Horror presents Sergeant Rock versus the Army of Dead number 6.
I believe that's the last issue.
I think it is just a 6 issue. Yeah.
Also, final issue of Tom King's series Human Target is out this week, number 12.
We've got Punchline, the Gotham game, number 5.
Riddler Year 1, number 3 is out.
Sandman Universe Dead Boy Detectives, number 3.
The 4th issue of Stargirl and the Lost Children is out this week.
I did read that one just on my own time, and it does have a cool final page reveal. We've also got Tim Drake Robin, number 6.
The 20th issue of King Spawn.
We've got Radiant Black, number 22.
And finally, Walking Dead Deluxe, number 58 is out this week. All right, so thanks for watching our show. We hope we've done our job and you know what comics you've connected with, which ones you want to pick up this week when you go to your comic store. And remember, if you're looking for a place to pre-order comics, we have infinityflux.net. It's very easy to sign up for a subscription. You get 10% off anything you pre-order. And we go over all this on Comics from the Future. Very easy to subscribe to a whole series or just get a cover. Took us 2 years to finally get this site. So again, that's infinityflux.net. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back this Friday with Comics from the Future, where we go over all the comics that are available to pre-order. So thanks a lot, and we will see you then.